Thank you for joining us for SheShed Stories. My name is Ashley, and I'm here today with Miss Rosie.
Hello.
Miss Rosie and I are going to be discussing fatherhood today. But before we get started, Rosie, I know who you are, and I know I love you, girl. But let's let people know you as a person. Like, who is Miss Rosie?
I am a kingdom-minded woman. I am a mother. I am a sister. I'm an aunt. Um, and I am somebody that God brought from the trenches to his glory because it took a lot. My journey was a very long journey, but I am here because of God.
That's a blessing. I love to hear that because I talk to you, and I know that sometimes your trenches come out just a little bit. But you put it back away, so we know God is real, right?
Yes.
So fatherhood. So you and I have different kind of views of fatherhood because I had a dad who was present, but I know that your dad was absentee for a minute, and in the spiritual realm and how fatherhood plays an impact in it. Tell me more about how you saw God when you're missing that aspect of your father. Like, was it hard? Because, some people, even though we have a dad, seeing God the right way is impacted. But for you, not having a dad, did that skew anything, or how that relationship with God start off for you?
So I didn't grow up with my dad. My mom was a single mother. She had me at 15. But, as a child, you don't know what you're missing until you get a little bit older. So I think I would say 12, 13 is when kids, girls and boys start trying to find their identity and who they are. And because I didn't have my father, I didn't have like somebody to attach myself to, to tell me, you're beautiful, you're this, you're that, because I didn't have that.
Yeah.
My mom did the best she could.
Now, what did your mom do, like dealing with your father in that conversation? Because even though you didn't know what you were missing, how did that work? I'm sure at some point you're
we
like,
we never
"Hey, where's
talked
my
about
dad?"
it. And when I got older, I think I asked her, man, maybe when I was 12 or 13,
Mm-hmm.
but it was, and I don't know where he's at. So it
It
wasn't,
was real
it
quick.
wasn't, it wasn't a conversation that she was ready to have
I
ever. So
understand.
I just left it alone. So yeah,
I
I
can
left it
I can see
alone.
that. She snapped at you and was like, "Wait a minute, she does not want to
Yeah.
talk about this, so maybe I won't talk about it."
Yeah. And so, but I did have a stepdad when I was like, I think when I was in third grade. So he did live with us for like 5 years.
Okay.
It's actually kind of funny because Walter resembles Pastor Curl, but also resembles my stepdad that I had at the time because he was very like direct and very like blunt. But the only thing was that my mom didn't let him discipline us.
Okay. So she
So
had those
she
boundaries.
had those
Just
boundaries, and it kind of affects me now as a mom and a wife because it's like I'm married to the man, married to my husband, which I have kids with. So like when they're getting disciplined, I'm like, oh, don't touch my baby, but oh, that is your baby too. But it's because
of
I
how
grew
you
up
grew
with
up.
like, you don't touch my children, I'll handle my children. But I think that had she let him discipline me and my brothers, I didn't like him. Like honestly, I'd be like, I was a teenager though, but I was,
Yeah. Who
every
likes
teenager,
anybody, right? At that
yeah,
point.
teenage girls are like whatever, and I was the whatever girl. But I think had he been able to like discipline me like a father should have, I probably would have found a little more,
Who would have had a little more direction.
direction. Yeah.
But as a mom, you can see how it's a little awkward because I'm a mom too, so I can
Yes.
see how sometimes that gets a little skewed,
Yes.
making sure it's safe. Now let's go from teenager Rosie to, let's say, new mom Rosie, moving to Texas Rosie. Tell us more about that and kind of where God comes in that transition for you.
So I didn't grow up like I didn't grow up going to church. So I didn't have like a relationship with God. And now like just thinking back, I always had my own boundaries. So I wasn't a wild child, but I would do just enough
You was
to scare
that little
myself.
line.
Yeah, there was a line. But when I moved to Texas, it was because I did not want my son to grow up without his dad. And
Okay.
his nana at the time was offered a job here in Texas. I was 19, and I was like, okay. Now, the relationship with me and his dad was very volatile, very traumatic, very abusive, emotionally, physically, all of the things. Like, it was chaotic.
It really went left. Like,
oh, it went left. It was, yeah. But I didn't want him to grow up with without his dad, because I grew up without a dad and I know how that feels. But I also know that boys need their dads.
Yeah.
So I sacrificed and I moved down here with them. I was 20. He was 3 years old when we moved down here. And within a year, I was enough with the abuse. I was done with the abuse. I got my own apartment, my own job, my own little beat up car that took me from A to B.
All had one of those.
It was definitely a hoopty. And so I just, I was working, I was taking care of Dejan. I was, he was in daycare because I wanted him to have interaction with other children, because he was the only child. 'Cause I didn't know, I didn't have any other kids.
Yeah, no. And I mean, you're new here, so you don't really have, you left your entire kind of safety net for, that's rough.
For discomfort.
Yeah. It's funny how God puts you in really uncomfortable seasons just to lead them to you. So in this discomfort, I know you said that you started working and, you're just getting back on your feet, because obviously what you've left was traumatic, and to be traumatized in a completely different state is crazy.
Yeah.
So kudos to you for being able to power through that, because that's a big feat.
It is.
Especially with a baby.
Yes. It was a lot, but I think I knew that there was nothing back home for me. So I was just like, I'm not going back home. Although I thought about it a lot.
I mean, who wouldn't?
Mom, but
somebody's there.
Yeah, but I'm like, I would just be like the other people, like not really having anything out of life.
Yeah.
So I was like, no, just stick it out here.
No, definitely understand that. So I'm sure in that moment or in that deep time, did you seek God, or were you just going through the motions, or did you always feel like maybe there was a presence of him there, you just didn't know how far into God could you go? Or were you still just, since you didn't start with church, God still wasn't in the forefront of your mind?
Right. I wasn't thinking about God. As a matter of fact, I turned 21 here, and then I became a party girl.
No.
And
Texas
so I definitely
Texas is a place.
I became a party girl. So I was doing my own thing. I was, in one thing that I learned as a teenager, I never, because I hated when my mom would introduce us to friends.
Oh, I know that.
And yeah, and I'm like, why do you do that? Like, I don't want to get to know somebody that's not going to be here.
Yeah, you keep calling him your friend, and I know where things are going at this point. Your friend stayed a little too long last time.
Yeah, so I purposely, like, I dated people. Dejan never knew anybody.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't know. Like, when he became an adult, he's like, Mom, I thought Mr. Walter was the only one. I was like, no, I purposely did that because I knew that
you didn't want the weirdness.
That's weird. Yeah. And I wanted him to grow up and not feel like, oh, Mom has another friend. Like, that's a lot.
Friends, you got this.
Yeah. Like, no, thank you. But I wasn't thinking about God. So, no. And then I had, I worked at Walmart. I did all the things. And then I started working at a pawn shop.
Oh.
And it was called Cash America. And that's when I met Pastor Curl, which at that time, he was Mark. Mm-hmm. He was my market manager. And I avoided him like the plague. It's almost like, that person has something in them. Like you can see it, but you know
like
what
a glow, and you're like, I don't need any of that. I want to keep my distance.
Go wash these tables. I'm gonna go wash these TVs, make sure that they're clean, dust everything up. I'm gonna stay away from him. And then one day he had a conversation with me. I'm like, oh, okay. And then I avoided him, like, because I worked so far away from him. He would only come like once or twice, a month or whatever. And then he asked me if I wanted to work at their North Austin store, and I was like, yes, that's a lot closer to my house, because I was driving like 45 minutes to work. I didn't mind the drive, but
I know what mom wouldn't, right? Especially if your kids are daycare.
But I said yes, and so I didn't know where his office was.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when I started to get to really know him, and then, but it wasn't like, hey, you want to come to church? Like it was like literally, he really got to know me and to like encourage me and do all the things. I didn't know he was discipling me. I was just like, oh, okay, cool, cool, cool. And so he did invite me to a concert because he was a pastor, a
Mm-hmm.
youth pastor. So I went to a concert that he was having at the church back then.
Did he
There
tell you what
was
kind of concert it was, or you think you're going to see Chris Brown or
no, I knew it was a hip hop concert. So I knew it was
a
because
gospel hip hop
I
concert?
did. He told me it
Okay.
was gospel. Yes. So I was just like,
You think you
okay.
went to a party, you got there, there's a whole bunch of believers singing about God.
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay, this is different. I didn't know about gospel rap. So I was like, this is different. But I actually gave my life to Christ that night. And
What did that
then
feel like? Let's pause because we don't want to stray too far from that. So, what was it about that atmosphere? Was it just because I listen to gospel rap and I think it's cool, but was it just moving, or when you were there, were you just impacted by the crowd? What was that feeling like for you?
it was the environment, and
Okay.
then they did an altar call. So I was compelled to go to the altar. Very weird. I know it was at a gospel concert,
Isn't that
but
weird? God
hey,
meets us
God was
everywhere. So
God was
if God
there.
was in the
So
midst of there, that's it. It's because, a lot of times I think with some people, when it comes to finding God, a lot of people are looking for this Saul experience, being
yeah,
knocked down on Damascus Road. And so people who don't have that experience but still feel inclined to find God, they're like, well, if I didn't feel it in such a drastic way, then do I really have God? But you're saying that no, that wasn't like that for you, that
yeah,
you simply went to a concert
yeah,
that
and
introduced God to you in a way that I'm sure was new for you.
yeah, and the thing is, like for me, when I listen to music, I listen to I really like intently listen to the lyrics. Like
Okay.
some people listen to it for
The
the
beats.
beat,
Mm-hmm.
but I listen to the lyrics. So like, okay, what are you like talking about? And like, I can cry at a rap at a rap song. It's weird, but whatever. I can cry like because of what they're
I'm not judging
saying.
you.
Well, what they're saying, like, or I listen to Air FM, so those are sad, like not sad songs, but I love the radio station,
Yeah.
but I'll sit there and just cry over things that they say and just listening to the lyrics. So yeah, so
So in that moment, you're hearing the lyrics, and that was like a movement of like,
that was like the start of
God's
it.
here.
Yeah,
Like, I feel them. Like I see you guys all singing along. That helps. That's a good thing for people to know that not every experience is I was at rock bottom and I needed saving. You were in the moment and somebody simply introduced you to something new. So that's good. So that's a great start. We're at Rosie just meeting God. Now let's go further. How did the beginning journey work for you? Because I'm sure, as many of us, when we find God, it's not like our problems just fade away. So I'm sure you're still dealing with party
no.
Rosie and single mom Rosie and all of that
Things,
other stuff.
honestly, when you give your life to Christ, you would think, that things would get better.
Yeah.
But they didn't because I was still dealing with the crazy baby daddy, the father of my son. He was crazy. So
I
I
believe
was
it. You
still
started to
yeah
story about that, so I'm sure his craziness didn't just dwindle over
no
time.
no. And when I moved into my own place, I started going to church, but he was still knocking on my door, being aggressive, being abusive. And I hated that for my son because my son would see this. But I think that just because you give your life to Christ does not mean that everything's going to be perfect because it's not.
It's
It's
not
not
at all.
because the enemy now knows that, okay, you left me, and you don't see it until after the fact. You're like, oh gosh, that
Like
really,
spiritual warfare is a real
yes, it's a
thing.
real thing because he's mad that
You're
I'm
switching
not,
teams.
yeah, and I'm not, going out as often anymore. I'm not doing what I used to do.
Yeah.
I'm legit trying to build a relationship with God, and the enemy is knocking at your door. And it's like, what do you do? Do you keep fighting? Or are you going to buckle and go back to what you were doing and let the enemy just come and chill in your house?
That's a hard question, especially when you're deep in it and you're just don't have any kind of direction of where to go. And that's the importance of a spiritual community. You know, when you get saved, that's why we're always like, no, when you get saved, find a church, find people
Yeah.
that are in God. Because I'm sure if you were by yourself in that aspect, or like you hadn't found someone like Pastor Crow to help you in this walk, I'm sure it'd be easy for you to be like, nah, I'm going back. And
Yeah.
maybe not back to Dejan's dad, but back to the life you were leaving before, because it would
Yeah.
have been a lot easier.
Yeah, because it was hard. I can say if it wasn't for Pastor Curl walking me through that, yeah, I probably wouldn't even be here.
Oh, I could see that. We're glad. We're so thankful for Pastor Crow for keeping you nice with us.
I wouldn't
No.
be here.
So you talk about Dejan's dad and not having a father figure like your dad around. How did that impact how you saw fatherhood? Because you went from not having a father and maybe just a little bit of a taste of a father with your stepdad to now all of a sudden you have a child who has a father, but that relationship is skewed, like is, you know, gone all the way around. So how did that look for you? Like how did you navigate that while also trying to navigate God?
Um, in a sense of Dejan's dad, I had to let him still be a father. Um, he had him a lot of most of the time because he had to go to school. So he was most stable because he was living with his parents.
Mm-hmm.
So Dejan was going to school like where his dad was and stuff like that. But I think that at that time I was like I never talked bad about his dad to him. So
Okay.
he never saw that. He always saw he only saw his dad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
His
His
like
dad was his dad.
his
It
dad was his
wasn't
dad. Yeah.
he wasn't your baby daddy to his dad. It was just his
Yeah, that
dad.
was his dad. And I never like spoke ill will against him. I never, I let Dejan grow up to know his dad for himself.
Okay.
And so he painted his own picture to his own son, which right now he's 24. He doesn't really talk to him, which is sad because, you know, every kid wants their dad. He loved
Yeah.
he adored his father. But
As time went on. Well, that's really strong of you, especially, you know, how your mom, she didn't do the opposite, but like instead of inviting the opportunity for you, the opportunity to get to know, she kind of like dead that door for you. Like, this isn't the time.
oh yeah,
Or,
multiple times.
no.
Multiple times.
And, you know, as a mom, I could see why that's hard, especially as we get into it more about why it would have been hard for her to try to navigate that. But you did the best you could. And I'm glad that, you know, instead of taking the feeling that you had and passing it on to your son, that you were able to know, like, you can be a father and the relationship you have is your responsibility, not on you. Because I know as a mom, sometimes we want to control everything our kids do and everybody who comes in and out. But that was really strong of you. And did God help you out in that aspect? Or
Yeah.
were there times you wanted to go crazy and then you decided Jesus wouldn't like this?
Yes. Well, it was multiple times. I actually was trying to get somebody to
No.
do not so nice things to him because of so much abuse and trauma that he put me through. And I
Yeah.
was like, I'm done. So I made a phone call. I'm like, you want to?
Figure this out for me.
But no, I think God definitely kept me through that. And Pastor Curl and Dr. Moody at that time, like, they knew the situation, they knew the story. So I would go to them and they would, speak life into me and father him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's like the beauty of community. Because yes, he was 6, 7, 8 years old, but he had men of God that loved him and he would just go to Dr. Moody's house for the weekend and hang out with the Moody boys, and you know, he was never he never misbehaved. So
Yeah.
that's like the biggest blessing because I'm just like he sees all this trauma and all this everything that's going on, but he was such a great kid. So he always saw the beauty in life, I guess, and
He saw the God in life. You kept
yeah.
him around things of God. And I'm sure that was very helpful. So, how did your spiritual life kind of grow in the midst of this? Did you pick up a prayer life? Was there devotions? Was it just simply community coming around you, kind of bulking you up? Because you are, as somebody who knows you now, you have a strong spiritual life. You are an amazing woman of God. And I know that couldn't have been it wasn't like a switch. Sometimes we think we get saved and, like you said, things
It's
are going
not
to
a
go
switch.
good. But also, our relationship with God isn't a switch. Just
No,
because we get saved doesn't mean all of a sudden we see God in all his glory. That
no.
still takes time. So, in the midst of that, you've had a lot going on. How did you see God show up? So in relationships, was it just things started to make sense to you, or how did that kind of flourish your growth in God?
Definitely praying and community.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, Pastor Crow, I was very standoffish when I joined.
I, I can sense that.
No,
I can see where that came from.
I legit did like I remember and I feel so bad now, but Deaconess Williams from Sheila Williams from ATX, she would call me all the time and I'm like, yeah. Decline. Like I did not want
That's
and
weird.
it was very weird to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I did have a thing like with females. Like I didn't care to talk to females.
You weren't looking for female friends at the
Yeah, like I
time.
was just like, no, I'm good. But once I found my people at the church, and I like, and that's when I actually was pregnant with Natalia, like
Okay.
because I met Walter not at the church, but
But you brought him
but I brought him there, and I got approval.
there.
I got approval from the man of God, but we didn't. Everything isn't perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing was perfect, but it was God. God was in it, even though it wasn't perfect. And I think that's the beauty in God. Like, okay, you messed up. I know I messed up. Like, you're having a kid. You're not married. That's great. That's very disappointing. Like for me, I was disappointed in myself, but I'm like, well, the consequences of your actions, right?
Yeah.
So, but the beauty is that the community did not throw me away.
Oh, that's
I didn't
wonderful.
feel less than.
Ostracized, or
Yeah,
like
no,
nobody
like
was beating you over the head with the Bible?
no,
No?
not at all. Like honestly, it was nothing but love and care because once I had Natalia, I had family. Like, and when I say my community was my family, like my community is my family. Like I wouldn't have been able to make it as a parent without my community. Like we had such a great community that surrounded us that helped me and that was God. Like you see God in your community. Nobody's perfect.
Yeah.
Nobody's perfect, but everybody has something to offer. And just people coming to me and buying me stuff for my kids and bringing it to me or just coming like one girl, Maisha, when I had Aiden, I never met her. Like she was like fairly new.
Mm-hmm.
And so once I went on maternity leave, they bring you meals. They like literally community.
Family.
She never left. Like she didn't live with me, but she was with me every day. And I would call her. I was like, this is the kid's second mother because if it was they weren't with me, they were with her. And I'm like, how did you even? I was like, how did you even get in my like? How did you get in my space? Like I don't remember that, but
It's funny
it's
because
like
God really puts people for you, and I see it, in our community here. Like when you get somebody new, all of a sudden there's somebody around that God's just like, no, get to know them, be close to them, because before you know it, you're gonna need them spiritually. You're gonna
yeah,
need them naturally. A lot of times, I think when people come to Christ, we're so dichotomized in our lives that this can't be our family community. This is just the community of the church.
yeah.
Especially if, like, for me, I have a strong family background. So seeing community in the way that you described it, it took a little bit for me because it was
Oh,
like,
I know.
I have a family. Like, y'all are cool, but me and my family are okay. So for
Yeah.
you in that aspect, just seeing how you're able to take people in, instead of staying standoffish or outside of community, you're like, no, these people are really trying to love me and get to know me. So let me just embrace them. And I think as women, especially when it comes to us embracing other women, that could be a little hard, especially if your track record with women aren't easy. But once you start to get to know people in the community, you're like, no, you guys aren't out to get me. This isn't
Yeah, exactly.
like we're not enemies here. And that's where that whole spiritual warfare comes in of like the enemy doesn't want you to befriend. They don't God wants you to grow in community, but the enemy wants to keep you isolated. And that shows your growth in God, because you could have easily said, my kids, my life, my family, keep your distance. But you were like, nah,
No, I
I
needed
need
that
help.
community.
Help me, please.
I needed that community. No, I was like, there was no way. Yeah.
So you pretty much saw God in every step of the way as you grew.
Yeah, he definitely has been there every step of the way. Even when I felt like my life was falling apart, it really wasn't, because he was there.
No, that's great. So let's talk about. I know that you didn't know your father growing up, but I'm sure there are people out there who have the same testimony as you, where later in life they can reconnect. And if you have the opportunity, is an opportunity should I take? Should I just let this relationship be where it's at? Or maybe they knew their dad, but the relationship was just so strained that it's like, at what point should I welcome that back in? So kind of give us a segue into how was that for you? Because I know later in life you did get to meet your biological dad. So from start to finish, how did that play out for you?
So funny. So I think me and Walter were married probably 1 or 2 years, maybe 3 years. And
New marriage, new marriage.
Yeah.
New marriage with kids.
Yes. 2 under 2. 2 under 2. But no, we got into a really big argument, and Pastor Curl was like, get to my house right now. So we drove over to his house, and he was like, you have daddy issues and you have daddy issues. Fix it. And I'm like,
Pastor Carl told you had daddy issues? Mm-hmm. You're like, how do I have daddy issues? I don't got a dad.
Exactly. I was like, okay. So I when I was a teenager, I did like I said, I asked my mom because I saw my birth certificate, and I'm like, that's not my last name, like. Cause
so your dad was there when you were born. It just kind of.
No, my mom just put his name on the birth certificate. So I had a different last name.
Yeah.
And so that's when I started asking questions, but I knew I couldn't talk to my mom. So I talked to my grandmother. And so she told me a little bit, not much, because she's like, well, you got to talk to your mom too. I'm like, you guys are killing me.
You just tried to talk to her. It didn't work out.
Oh my God. So I left it alone. I'm like, okay, I know his last name is Rivera, but whatever. So I went on with life. And then when I got pregnant, I was pregnant with Natalia. And, I was like, I'm very curious, like, who is my father? And I had a cousin that told me, oh, your dad's in the family. I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, that's all I'm going to tell you. And I was like,
and everybody was just giving you like these cryptic messages.
Yes, I'm like,
we write you the first letter of his first name. Then you got to jump in a hole to find the rest of it.
Yes. And so when I was pregnant with Natalia, I was like, all right, I know his last name is Rivera. I know he's in the family. And this is when Facebook first came out. So I had, we didn't have laptops. We had desktops, big desktops.
So there was no Ancestry DNA to help.
No. And it was just the internet dial-up.
You're a Facebook stalker already. You started off, I see that.
So I used the white pages, and I was just looking for, and I found out.
Digging.
I really did. I did.
Phone book and started searching.
I did. And then I went on Facebook and I started like looking people up, and then I found it was my sister, but I didn't know. And I'm like, hey, so I think we're related somehow. I think you're my sister. She was like, what? So she's a girl, so she wasn't like standoffish. She's like, oh my gosh, or like, how do you think you know? Blah, 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 blah. And then I reached out to my older brother. And he was like, I don't believe you. I was like,
if you think we're rich, we don't have no money to give you. So please do not be hitting me up anymore.
All right, dude. So then she gave me the phone number to the house. So then I called, and I got scared and I hung up. And then his wife reached out to me, and what makes you think that he's your dad? Blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, well, these are the information that I got from my family. I just need to know. I was like, I don't want nothing from you guys. Like, I'm a grown woman with children now. So I just want.
I'm really just trying to fix my daddy issues to keep my marriage afloat right now. Like, help me out here.
I need to fix it so I can fix it with God, so that I can see God as my, like, you know what I mean? Differently. Like, you have to have it's like you have to know, like, because it bothered me. Like, I would say it didn't bother me. I didn't care
Mm.
because I grew up without him. So what am I going to gain from this,
Yeah.
right? Like, I had Pastor Curl, I had God, I had my husband, and I had my kids.
What more could you
What
need?
what more did I need, right?
Mhm.
But
God was telling you, no, there's
no,
more.
there's more to this, and I had to really pray about it and forgive, because I had to literally put myself in my mom's shoes. She was
So who were you
15.
forgiving? Like,
Both
did
of
you have to
them.
forgive your mom for not telling?
Oh
Because
yes, big
it's
time.
had to be hard for you to see, not necessarily who's at fault, but as a child, like, we have to give direction. And so it's like, who missed out on giving me the direction? So that forgiveness aspect is something that's hard for believers, non-believers, people
It
in
is.
general. So in that moment, we know forgiveness isn't a one-time thing. Going through this process of looking for him, or there are moments where you look to God like, even if I do find this man, what am I supposed to say? Like, I'm angry,
Exactly.
right? Because what were you feeling at that
I
time?
wasn't
Angry,
angry. No,
disappointment.
I was never angry.
That's good.
Um, I was more curious and just wanted to, honestly, it was something I wanted to check off. Like, okay, I met my dad. Cool. Like, now
Okay, God, I did one more
I
thing.
did what you
We
told me to
solved.
do. I did what you told me to do, and
If
what
only
Pastor
God worked
Crystal.
like that with checklists where you're like, okay, God, got
Yes,
rid of that. Check.
done.
Done with this. Check.
And I like just wanted to see, do I look like my dad? Like, oh, and I have siblings. I have 4 or 5 siblings. What do they look like? What, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was just curiosity and wanting to know and checking it off, right?
Mhm.
But so and it took years. So it really did take some years for us to like actually meet. So
Yeah.
they flew to Texas. Aiden was about 5 because it was around his birthday, because we actually celebrated his birthday with them. And we did the DNA test. It came back that he was my dad. And one thing that when I met him, I was like, I told Pastor Carl, you have to be with me. I was like, I don't want to do this by myself. I don't know what to say to this man. I don't want, it's going to be awkward.
Yeah.
And
As
so,
naturally, I mean,
yeah. So we met in a parking lot, and I was like, this is my pastor, and this is my dad. And so it was like a big like sigh of relief that Pastor Crow was there with me, because I'm the type of person, like, I'm a scary, like, I kind of am like a little scary cat, because I'm like, I don't want to meet nobody new, and this is awkward. Like, how are they going to receive me?
yeah.
Do they really care about me, or they're just like, oh, who is this person? I don't know. So I just felt like I needed Pastor Crow there.
That's the comfort of having a spiritual father, right?
Yes.
Somebody who really cares for you. And that's the importance of, making yourself open, because even if at that time maybe he couldn't go, I'm sure there were other people in the community that if you would have pulled on, they would have
Hmm.
made sure that you were comforted in that moment.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I like just doing the DNA test, and then actually like getting to know my father and speaking to him. Like, he knew that I was big in church, and he followed suit. He started going to church. I don't know if he still goes to church, Dad. I hope you do. But and then getting to know him, getting to know my siblings, actually taking a week off and going over there to meet my siblings and see that side of my family, which was, again, awkward, because I'm just like, I'm just a girl. And my dad was inviting the whole neighborhood to come meet his daughter. And I'm just like, this is a lot. But he was excited that,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So it was like, he was like, very, I'm so sorry I wasn't part of your life, like, but this, that. And I was like, God, I was like, Dad, I was like, that doesn't matter. I was like, whatever happened in the past,
That's the past.
that's the past.
That
Like,
shows God, because you could have easily been like, well, this is what you missed out on
no, I
XYZ,
was like,
but
it's like, you have
you
to
didn't look back.
build. No, because I'm like, I don't want to blame my mom, and I don't want to blame my dad. Obviously, this is something that God did for me to grow up this way, so that I can help somebody else that grew up without a father.
Perspective.
Yeah, so I'm just like, okay, like, it is what it is. That's in the past. Y'all did whatever y'all did, or whatever happened. I'm here because of it. And I just want to be your daughter and I want to have a relationship with you and move forward. And since then, like, it's been beautiful because he will give you the shirt off his back. He feeds his whole neighborhood. I mean, he has the biggest heart. You know, I got to like talk to him and pray over him when he's had major surgeries. He'll call me when he's sad, and I'm like, okay, Dad, like you got to,
Muscle up.
yeah, like
Pull on
you
God
got
now.
this. You're gonna keep fighting because he has pancreatic cancer now, and he's like, I don't want to keep fighting. I was like, oh, you gonna fight because no, you still have more life in you. You have your grandchildren that you need to see graduate. You need to see your great grandchildren. You're gonna live a long life. You're not gonna just give up.
Yeah.
So it's a beautiful thing because I could have been a bitter person.
You really could have, like you could have really taken it and then instead of seeing the good in it, seeing all the, well, why weren't you there? Or why wasn't my mom trying hard enough? Or pretty much where was the breakdown that quote unquote failed you,
Yeah.
But instead of seeing that, do you think you felt that way because God was in it in that
Oh.
time? Because like I'm sure if you had did that by yourself, do you think it would have still turned out the same way?
Definitely God. Definitely God. Now, I'll probably would have met him, but left it at just meeting him and never probably like had a like relationship. Like
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't have tried to build the relationship that we have now
I feel that.
because I'm like, okay, well, you're still a stranger to me in my eyes.
Yeah.
Like you're
So when you
like,
found God, it kind of made you more open because, like you spoke earlier about community. So you being open to meeting new people in that aspect probably did a great deal of you being open to not just meeting him, but actually integrating him into your life. Because I'm sure some people would just leave it as, well, I found him.
yeah,
Good
and
for
that's
you.
it.
Like,
Yeah. And if it wasn't for God, if it wasn't for Pastor Curl, I probably would have left it at, okay, I met him, great. DNA says I'm his daughter. That's nice. Okay. Life goes on. But I think just seeing him and meeting him and having God walk me through that was major.
no, I believe it. I believe it. And it's funny because sometimes we meet God for just ourselves, right? So you met him originally and it was like just for Rosie, but God doesn't save us for ourselves. God saves us to share him. So in the same blessing of you getting closure or reconciliation in that aspect, your dad now gets to know God. Your dad now gets the opportunity to be prayed over by you and to be able to have the opportunity for a spiritual covering that he may not have had if you had not taken your own journey with God. Because who knows, you may have looked for him, you may have just chalked it up to it all being good, and we'll answer those questions later in life, which Ancestry DNA came out, so you probably would have been able to find him later. But I'm sorry you had to go through the yellow pages.
No, it's all good. And, not even in like just the relationship with my sister too, because she's like a year younger than me. And so when she found out I was her sister, like I would help her. Like she would call me when stuff was going south with her relationship or her kids, and I'm just like, okay, well, let's pray, or okay, I'm gonna walk you through this. It's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
So it allowed me to build relationships that I never thought I would have.
So your light was able to shine through to all these other people, which is good because you'll know how for them they are now sharing God in a way. And sometimes church isn't the only way you find God. It takes somebody inviting you to church at work. Sometimes it takes finding a long lost sister to introduce you, which I'm sure would stick a lot more because, hey, a long lost sister coming out of nowhere. I'd be more interested to hear what you got to say too. So, in the aspect of all of that, when you finally closed that aspect or that box, right? Where did you see how closing that chapter or finding that reconciliation filled a void with God? Because sometimes, when people are missing that natural aspect, seeing somebody else as father is weird. So seeing God as father probably was like, how can I know God for who he is if my own natural father was a mystery? Or even seeing your spiritual father, because sometimes there's a breakdown when you don't have a good relationship with your natural dad. When somebody comes in and they're like, well, I'm going to be your spiritual dad. You're like, well, what does that mean to me? So check in. I'm sure it's off-putting for some people. So when you finally were able to give closure to that chapter, did you think back of like how if I didn't do this, I would be missing a void with God? Like I would be
definitely.
missing this. What does that describe it a little bit?
Definitely. I feel like because Pastor Girl said I had daddy issues and I fixed that, I think it closed the gap to where, okay, I can see God for who he really is. He's loving, he's caring, he's forgiving. He's never, there's nothing that you can do to disappoint him. And like for me, I am a very, I'm an emotional person, but I'm also a, if you tell me I did something wrong, oh, I just suck. I'm done. I'm good. So I'll just try to
You're completely like,
I
well, I don't
shut
have to do
down.
this at all. Like,
Yeah,
if
like
you
I'm
think
not
I'm that
good. Yes,
bad.
I'm not good at all at ministry. I suck. I'm not doing anything because I don't have anything, no value to bring to the table. But like with God and him being there for me, I'm like, okay, I can have my little to myself, I can pout for 10 minutes and be like, all right, no, ma'am. God is loving, God is caring. You are the apple of his eye. You can attack the devil with your mouth and your words, and I forgive you. And I think that's the biggest for me is like God being so forgiving, even when I messed up while I was in him in
Yeah.
my salvation process.
They call
Because
it sanctification for a reason.
so, and I think that's one thing that like even before church, I always thought like people that were saved and people that went to church or like holy had their life together, everything was perfect in their eyes, in their world, nothing was a mess.
Like, you got
And
God. How
yeah,
could anything be wrong?
and so when I got into the community, I'm like, oh, these people are like me.
We're
Like
all seeking
we're
God.
all seeking
And
God and we're not perfect. And I really thought I had to be perfect. So I really thought that that I had to be perfect, and then God couldn't love me if I wasn't perfect, and I had to have all my ducks in a row and all my T's crossed and all my I's dotted. But no, He works and He's
he
in
works in our mess.
in our
Like, in our
mess,
mess,
like
they're
He's
there.
in our mess, and I think that's something that if I didn't have my father, and if I didn't fix that with my father, right? I didn't have my father, and if I didn't fix that with my father, I will still feel that emptiness.
Yeah.
So what if? What if I had my dad? How would I feel? Da, 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 da. Like so, it's still probably been bothering me now, and it's something that doesn't bother me anymore because God stepped in and was like, okay, now it's time.
Yeah. You can't live your whole life
Yeah,
and grow a
you
meat
can't.
missing that void.
And you can't talk to people about God if you have daddy issues because it's like he's the ultimate father. And if you have daddy issues with your own father, that means you don't forgive. You're not forgiving and you're bitter and you're angry and you have resentment towards people. You can't shine your light and you can't show people who God really is if you don't have that aspect. Like for me, it's like, okay, I know who God is and I know what he did for me.
You know where
And
he could show
I
up,
know
how
where
he
he
could
could
show
show
up.
up definitely. And you have to be able to be okay with fixing the issues that you have within yourself to be able to shine so other people can see your testimony because it really is a testimony
It is.
and it's a testimony for other people. And sometimes you could be like, well, I'm not good enough and I'm not this and I'm not that. I'm not worthy of that because that was me. And I'm still like, sometimes it's a fight
You know.
daily. It's a fight. I'm like, I'm not worthy.
Hmm.
I'm not worthy
And
of this.
are any of us worthy, you know?
Yes.
He didn't call us to be worthy, though.
He
So that's,
didn't. And so it's a battle, but it's a battle between your flesh and your spirit man. So who are you listening to?
that's a good question. Who do you listen to most? And that's hard for
And it's
women,
hard.
especially as women, because the voice in our heads be loud and it's
It's
got a lot of
very,
words. And
that's a word.
we got a lot of words ourselves. I know the voice in our head has a lot of words. But it's so beautiful because in this, and there, I'm sure there were times in this moment where you're like, God can't be there. But then he showed up in another way, and another way, and another way. It really is just giving God the opportunity to show up in so many ways. Because, sometimes in our own midst, you're just like, even when you're doing ministry and you're doing this, you're like, God, I'm struggling and I'm doing what you asked me to do. I'm here, I'm serving, I'm
Yeah.
trying to get to know people, but where are you? And then something good happens or like a breakthrough happens, whether it's good or bad, but something needs to be done. You're like, no, you're still there. And like a father should be. And when you're missing that aspect of fatherhood, it's hard to see God because you're like, well, how can somebody who doesn't see me or who I think doesn't see me, show up for me if my own dad didn't show up for me, if my own
Exactly.
dad couldn't be there. But no, God was like, no, I'm going to make sure you get that void filled, and I'm going to show you how I can show up and show out.
Yep. So I have my natural father and my spiritual father and God. So
We got three
I
daddies.
got three dads. It is very important to have to honestly. I wouldn't be the person I am if it wasn't for God using Pastor Curl to speak into my life. And like, you know what I mean? Like it was very vital to me. Like he legit, and it's weird because some women, like for me, I I always thought men just wanted one thing. So I'm just like, so when I, for even with Pastor Curl, I'm just like, what's your angle? And he's like, I don't have an angle. Like, there's no angle. I don't want you that way. Like, I literally care about you and your soul. And I'm like, but why? Like,
Like, what
literally,
did I
was
do
like,
for you to? So he's like the first introduction, because we asked God that too. Like, what have I done to make you want? Like,
so,
why'd you choose me?
yeah, I'm like, okay. But God, I have something in me that other people need, and that will help other women succeed with their relationship with God. And I know there is other women out there that are going through this, but they're going through it alone.
Yeah.
And I felt like I went through all of that by myself because I didn't have anybody until I met Pastor Curl. So, and it's like, you have to have people that you talk to. You have to have people to speak into you, and it's okay.
You need to have God. Let God show you a
Let God.
community.
But I think the best thing that happened was me working at Cash America and meeting Pastor Girl.
Who knew a pawn shop could bring you to God, right? Like, to
Exactly.
bring you to all this glory.
Yes.
No, this is so beautiful, because I think a lot of women in today's age, we're so misindependent. We're so, I'll do it myself, especially when relationships we're in go south. So now you're like, well, now I really don't need no man. Now I really don't need this. I don't need that. I could do it all on my own. But God opened slowly but surely a door to show you that you don't have to do it on your own, and you're not supposed to. That is, we're not supposed to motherhood on our own. We're not supposed to be in marriages dealing with on our own. We're supposed to be open to receiving guidance and counsel. And Pastor Crow is like the best person to receive that from,
Yes, definitely.
because I'm sure when he sat you in that office yelling at you and Walter, you're like, first of all, why are you yelling at me? Second of all, well, how do I fix it?
Yeah.
Don't just yell at me. Help me fix it.
Yeah.
No, so it's just one of those things where it's like, how can you explain how good God is until you get to experience him? And how do you get to experience him if it's not through testimonies, not through trials, tribulations? He just gave you the opportunity to let him show up the same way we expect our natural dads to just show up and show up. And even though for a long time you were missing that piece, it didn't stop God from finding you. It didn't stop God from seeking you. It didn't stop God from being like, no, that missing piece isn't going to hinder our relationship. And he made sure of it by ensuring that he had a pastor to tell you, nope, it's time to do this, and it's time to get this solved, and allowing a community to hold you in times where, okay, these situations aren't, doesn't seem like much God is in here, but God was always there. He just gave you the opportunity, because now your story is going to get to bless somebody else. It blessed me. It blesses the opportunity to understand why forgiveness is important for even those who maybe have a dad and their relationship, wasn't great. That forgiveness key is really big, because once you're able to forgive, you're able to just open up all these doors to allow your light to shine.
Yeah.
And that's
And
beautiful.
forgiveness, for people out there, forgiveness is not a one-time thing.
I hated hearing that. Like, what do you mean you got to keep forgiving?
Not a one-time thing, because that's what I thought. But like I had to forgive my son's father with all the abuse and all the things that I went through with him. Oh my gosh, that
70 times 7.
so that was like a big thing. Like I hated hearing his name. I hear his name and it was like literally just like
Nails on a chalkboard.
yes. And so it's like, okay. And then Dr. Moody was like, no, like when that comes up, you got to say, I forgive. I forgave him. I forgive him. I forgave him. I forgive him. I forgive him. And just got to let it go. Like you just got to keep saying that. And when it comes back up, but I forgave. And so I had to do that with my son's father. I had to do that with my mom because I had resentment towards her as well. But I had to do that with her, like, you know what I mean? Because again, as a mother myself, I had to see, like, she was literally 15 years old. She was a teenager. Like, she did the best that she could with what she had. So you have to literally forgive and remember that you forgave, because if not, you'll just let it fester and then you'll go right back in there, like the resentment, the hatefulness, the
Those roots that we talked about,
yes.
how you need to
So
pull
you
up.
literally have to like say to yourself, I nope, I forgave him. I forgive him for that. Even in marriage. Like there's stuff I'm telling you. There was
A lot
stuff
of forgiving.
with Walter that I legit be like, I want to bring it back up. They're like, oh damn.
God be in your ear like, I thought
know,
you said you were over that.
you
I
let
thought
it
you were
go.
over that. I'm like,
Yes.
dang, your voice is so loud today.
It is very loud. It is very loud. But yeah, forgiveness is an everyday thing. And then to the point where there'll be one day that if I hear my son's father's name,
There's no
there's
negative
no
emotion
negative.
attached.
It's no. And I'm like, thank God, because that was like hard.
18 years is a long time to keep hearing somebody's name.
It
I
was
feel that.
very, but forgiveness is definitely key.
Oh, well, this was so beautiful. I loved
Yeah.
being able to hear how you let God show up and show out. And I pray that when other people hear this, instead of looking for such a dramatic experience, or when they find God, instead of looking for just a rainbow just to appear out of the sky, they start seeking God in the little things, in the little opportunities, because I'm sure in every little opportunity you let God show up, he showed out, it led to bigger opportunities. Because now, because of you, one, we're very blessed by your testimony. We're blessed to see your growth. I know you speak to a lot of us in our community, but also those that God allowed you to be connected to through your forgiveness, through your journey, like your dad, your sister. And I'm sure there's other fruits that you know not of, just simply due to because you decided to let God shine through you instead of allowing life to shine through you. And it's really beautiful.
Yeah, thank you.
So thank you so much for your time today. We're so grateful for you. And I know here at the Rock SCT, we love you very much.
Oh,
So
thank you. I love y'all too.
All right.
Thank you for tuning in to SheShed Stories. This moment is not just about surviving, but thriving. If you desire to start shedding and you don't know where to start, let us walk you through the prayer of salvation. Dear Lord Jesus, I am coming to you now as a sinner in need of your grace. I believe you died on the cross for my sins, defeated death, and rose again for my victory. Lord Jesus, come into my life and be Lord of my life. All that I am and all that I am not, I shed off and surrender to you. Now fill me with your precious Holy Spirit. Thank you for saving me. If you prayed this prayer with me, the angels in heaven are rejoicing with this amazing decision you made. Please comment to let us know, and we would love to connect with you. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel for the next episode.